Hey gardening friends, ready to grow healthier plants, bigger harvests, and smarter gardens? Let's get started.
What if I told you that the bucket you already have sitting in your garage right now could grow enough potatoes to feed your family for weeks? And the only reason it has not done that yet is because nobody told you one single thing about how a potato plant actually works. Welcome to the Smart Gardener. If you want to learn how to grow real food at home, hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss an episode. Now, I want to talk to someone today. Maybe that someone is you. A while back, you watched a video, got excited, filled a bucket all the way up with dirt, pushed a potato down into the top of it, watered it faithfully all summer long, and when fall came around, you tipped that whole thing over onto the ground, expecting a pile of potatoes. And what you got instead were 3 or 4 tiny little things, barely worth the washing. And right then and there, you decided that this whole container gardening business was a gimmick, that it just does not work, and you walked away from it and never looked back. I am here to tell you today that you did not fail. You were only ever told half the method. And the half nobody told you, that is the part that makes all the difference in the world. You were one small piece of knowledge away from tipping out a bucket so full and heavy with potatoes that you would have needed a second basket just to carry them all. That is how narrow the line truly is between a bucket full of disappointment and a genuine harvest. And today, I am going to put you on the right side of that line once and for all. So here is the thing that fools almost everybody, and it is worth slowing down on for just a moment. Because once you understand this, everything else I am about to tell you is going to make perfect sense. When most people picture a potato plant, they imagine the potatoes sitting down in the dirt around the roots, like eggs gathered at the base of the stem. So they think the potato just needs a bit of soil beneath it, and that is all there is to it. That picture is wrong, and that wrong picture is exactly why the bucket fails. Here is what is actually happening underground. Potatoes do not grow from the roots. They grow along the buried portion of the stem, from structures called stolons. A stolon is a modified underground stem that shoots out sideways from a buried node, and the tip of each one swells up and becomes a potato. Darkness is the trigger. When a section of stem is buried in the dark, the plant pushes out stolons. When that same stem is up in the light, it makes leaves instead. The plant is simply responding to whatever it is handed. Darkness means grow potatoes. Light means grow leaves. That is the whole mechanism. So go back to the person who filled that bucket to the brim before planting. They gave the plant maybe 1 or 2 inches of buried stem to work with. The plant did exactly what it was supposed to do. It just did not have much stem buried, so it did not make many potatoes. The plant did not fail them. They simply handed it a very small opportunity, and the plant took exactly what was offered, and nothing more. A bucket done the right way is nothing more than hilling stood up on its end. You are building a tall column of darkness, and asking that plant to hang its entire harvest all the way down it. And in just a moment, I am going to show you exactly how to build that column, step by step. Alright, now that you understand why the bucket works when it is done right, let me walk you through exactly how to do it. There are 5 steps, and every one of them matters. Step 1 is your container and drainage. The minimum is a 5-gallon bucket, but a 10 or 15-gallon container gives you more room for buried stem, and more buried stem means more potatoes. Whatever you use, drill several holes in the bottom and a few more low around the sides before you put a single scoop of soil in it. Every container failure I have seen that was not a stem mistake was a drainage mistake. 2 minutes with a drill will save you an entire season. Step 2 is your soil mix. Do not use heavy garden soil. It compacts like a brick inside a container and squeezes the developing potatoes so they cannot swell. What works best is roughly half quality potting mix, a quarter well-rotted compost, about 15% perlite for drainage and airflow, and the rest coconut coir for steady moisture. Quick test. Grab a damp handful and squeeze. Good mix holds its shape for 2 or 3 seconds, and then crumbles. If it stays in a hard, wet ball, it is too heavy. Step 3 is choosing the right variety. For bucket growing in the United States, early to mid-season varieties perform best. Yukon Gold matures in 65 to 80 days with excellent flavor and is the one I recommend most to beginners. Red Norland is another solid early choice. Kennebec matures in 80 to 100 days and carries natural resistance to late blight. Fingerling types produce clusters of small, elongated potatoes that are a genuine delight to pour out at harvest. Avoid large russet types entirely. They need a long open field season that a bucket cannot provide. And always buy certified seed potatoes from a garden supplier. Store-bought potatoes are often treated with a sprout inhibitor that works against you from the start. Step 4 is the planting itself. And here you need to fight every tidy instinct you have. Put 3 to 4 inches of soil mix in the very bottom of the empty bucket. Lay your seed potato on top with the eyes facing up. Cover with another 3 to 4 inches of soil and water it in. Then step back and look at what appears to be a mostly empty bucket. It will feel wrong. Leave it exactly that way. That empty space is not waste. That is your harvest, waiting to be filled with stem. Step 5 is the ongoing work that determines everything. When shoots reach 6 to 8 inches above the soil, add moistened soil and bury the lower stems, leaving only the top 2 to 3 inches of leaves showing. The soil must be moist when you add it. Moist soil makes direct contact with the buried stem, and that contact is what triggers new stolon growth. Dry soil from the bag does not do the same thing. Repeat this every 10 to 14 days, until the soil reaches near the rim. What you have built inside that bucket is a tall, unbroken column of buried stem from bottom to top, with stolons pushing out at every level, each one swelling into a potato. That is how a bucket done right produces a harvest that seems almost impossible for its size. Now that your bucket is planted and your plant is climbing, the work shifts to keeping it healthy all the way through to harvest. Water is the first thing to stay on top of. A container dries out 2 to 3 times faster than open garden soil in summer heat. Push your finger 2 inches down into the soil. Dry at that depth means water it. Still damp means leave it and check again tomorrow. What you want to avoid is the cycle of bone dry followed by soaking wet. That swing causes hollow heart, where the inside of the potato develops an empty cavity and cracked skin at harvest. Steady and consistent is what this plant wants. Feeding at the right times matters just as much as what you use. At planting, work in a fertilizer rich in phosphorus and potassium, around a 5 to 10 to 10 ratio. Phosphorus drives early stolon formation, which is where your entire harvest comes from. At your first hilling, add a half-strength liquid fertilizer with a little nitrogen for the leaf growth the plant needs. Do not overdo it. Too much nitrogen grows beautiful leaves and neglects the potatoes underneath. When flower buds appear, shift to potassium and cut nitrogen entirely. Once flowering is finished, stop feeding altogether and let the plant push everything it has left down into the crop. On pests and disease, the most serious threat is late blight, the same pathogen behind the Irish famine. It thrives in cool, wet conditions. But container growers have one advantage no field farmer ever will. You can move your buckets. When rainy, cold weather is coming, carry your containers under a covered porch and bring them back out when conditions clear. Always water at the base of the plant in the early morning, never overhead in the evening. The Colorado potato beetle is the other pest worth knowing. A yellow and black striped beetle that strips foliage fast. Pick them off by hand in the morning when they move slowly. Buckets on a second-floor balcony or elevated deck will rarely see this pest at all, since it is a ground-level crawler that seldom climbs that high. Finally, the strategy that separates a serious container grower from someone simply experimenting is this. Do not plant all your buckets at once. Stagger them. Start your first bucket in March or April after your last frost date. Container soil warms weeks before garden ground is ready, giving you a head start open soil cannot match. Add 2 or 3 more buckets in May or June. If you are in the south or along the Pacific coast, start another round in July or August for a fall harvest. What this gives you is fresh potatoes from June through November. Not one pile all at once, but a steady rolling supply for nearly half the year. That is what it means to grow like someone who truly understands this plant. Now here is the part most people never even know is possible. And it is one of the finest rewards this whole method has to offer. You actually get 2 harvests from the same bucket. The first comes 2 to 3 weeks after your plant flowers. Reach carefully into the side of the soil, feel around gently, and pull a few young tubers out without disturbing the rest of the plant. The skin on a new potato is so thin, it rubs off with your thumb, and the flavor is something you simply cannot buy at any store. push the soil back in place and walk away. The plant keeps growing, and your second harvest is still coming. That second harvest arrives when the top's yellow and the stems fall over on their own. The plant has sent everything it has left down into the crop. Do not tip the bucket yet. Wait 2 more weeks. That waiting period is called curing, and it lets the skin firm up so your potatoes will keep for months rather than weeks. Once that time has passed, lay a tarp on the ground, tip the whole bucket over, and let it pour out. No digging, no fork, no speared potatoes. They just roll out at your feet, clean and whole. If you have children or grandchildren nearby, wait for them before you do this. There is no lesson in any book that will teach a child where food comes from the way that single moment will. So let me leave you with the full picture. Right container with good drainage. The right soil mix that breathes and crumbles. The right variety for your season. Plant at the bottom, not the top. Bury that stem every 10 to 14 days as it climbs. 12 5-gallon buckets on a sunny porch done the right way can give you between 24 and 48 pounds of potatoes in a single season. Enough to feed a family for a month, grown on concrete, with no yard at all. More than 43% of Americans are now growing some of their own food at home, and you do not need a single square foot of ground to be one of them. Tell me in the comments what state you are in, and whether you have tried container potatoes before. If it did not work out, tell me how you filled the bucket. Next time I want to show you how to build a proper compost pile so you can fill these buckets with your own rich dark soil and never buy a bag again. But for now, remember this. The crop is in the stem. Bury more stem, grow more potatoes. That has been true since long before either of us was born.